Democrats are trying to frame a narrative around who Congressman Jim Jordan is. They're trying to paint him as someone who does not believe in the results of the 2020 election, has pushed false claims about it. They're trying to paint him as someone who supports the insurrection that happened here on Capitol Hill on January 6th. And so a lot of this is having Kevin McCarthy come forward and talk about the Jim Jordan he believes that he knows. And we saw these very personalized speeches even when McCarthy was trying to defend his speakership.
Today, opposition to Jordan grew among members of his own party. More than 24 Republicans voted against him. He can only afford to lose several GOP votes in order to overcome opposition from Democrats. American involvement in the Middle East. A Navy destroyer in the northern Red Sea intercepted multiple cruise missiles and drones said to be launched by Iranian-backed rebels in Yemen. ABC News national security and defense analyst Mick Mulroy tells us more about this rebel group.
They have a lot more cruise missiles and a lot more drones that can reach Israel. So this could be just a part of the beginning of a larger effort against Israel to try to open up yet another front.
Israel bombarded Gaza overnight, hitting more than 100 targets, while Palestinian officials said a medieval Greek Orthodox church, thought to be the oldest in the region, was damaged in the process. Around 5,100 people are dead. Israel's ground invasion into Gaza could come at any time. Milwaukee police still looking for whoever shot and killed a 30-year-old driver and wounded a 5-year-old passenger. The child is in the hospital. Police say someone in another car pulled up and fired shots into that vehicle near Layton and Pierce around 4:30 p.m. yesterday. Nearly 36 books will be removed from the Menominee Falls High School today after the school board deemed them in non-compliance with the district's sexually explicit content and or profanity guidelines. Grassroots Menominee Falls area's Kova Brown tells TMJ4 News she's concerned the policy for book removal was not followed correctly.
We have literacy experts who have deemed most of these books appropriate, and if they need to be challenged, there is a policy in place to do so.
In a statement, Superintendent Daniel Munoz said the guidelines were in the previous versions of the policy and procedure book and should have been adhered to prior to the revisions made in April. While fares remain on the table for the future of the HOP streetcar, they're not the priority for the city's Department of Public Works, in addition to the additional costs needed to install and operate fare collections. WTMJ's Adam Roberts tells Wisconsin's Afternoon News there's another major factor at play.
Keeping the HOP equitable for all economic stratas is important to them as well. I think in our study, we noted about 66% of the ridership makes less than $74,000 a year.
You can read more about Milwaukee's streetcar, a critical crossroads, our project in conjunction with TMJ4 News and the Milwaukee Business Journal at WTMJ.com. You can also text streetcar to the Old National Bank talk and text line 855-616-1620. A brand new Rolling Stones album is officially released today.
Hackney Diamonds is the first album with new Stones music in 18 years. It's quite a feat for a band that's been around for 60.
We are witnessing rock and roll in its oldest form now, really.
Jeff Bensky owns Top Shelf Guitar Shop in Bayview.
Nobody ever got a chance to see rock and roll get old, and these guys are still doing it. They're carrying the torch.
But new music can sometimes be a tough sell for an old band. However, Bensky says it'd be unfair to the Stones if fans don't give it a shot. Eric Bilstead, WTMJ News.
Time for news about your money and the WTMJ Annex Wealth Management Market Update. The Dow is still down 124 points, NASDAQ off 110, S&P 500 down 28. It's time for the Annex Wealth Management Tax Smart Planning Review. They'll review, assess, and provide strategies you can use. Go to annexwealth.com/taxsmart. Sports, traffic, and weather are next. Citing Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 12:05.
You can find affordable holiday decor at St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores. Find cute Christmas decorations, ornaments, trees, and home decor, all at thrift store prices. Gift cards are also available for that shopper on your Christmas list. You'll never overspend on holiday items from St. Vincent de Paul thrift stores on Highway 100 in Layton and Greenfield and 23rd and Lincoln in Milwaukee.
Ooh, you're gonna love it, St. Vincent de Paul.
Are you looking for the perfect restaurant for your next night out? Then make Aria, the acclaimed restaurant inside St. Kate, your next dinner destination. Specializing in artisanal American cuisine, Aria features carefully prepared seasonal entrees along with a robust selection of craft cocktails, wine, and local beer. Join them on Sundays for the restaurant's famous trademark chicken, served family style with sides like mashed potatoes, goat cheese biscuits, and more. Make your plans today to dine at Aria. Learn more and make reservations at aria@stkate.com. That's aria@stkate.com.
Leave low yields in the dust and never look back. Rev up your return on investment with Syngenta. Our innovative portfolio of crop protection products outperforms and out-yields any deal, giving you higher yield and profit potential at the finish line. Syngenta, where better yield is the better deal. Always read and follow label instructions.
All right, let's see here. Acuron corn herbicide. Powerful weed control? Check. Long-lasting residual? Check. Proven crop safety? Check. Acuron checks all the boxes, which is why it outperforms and out-yields all other corn herbicides by 5 to 15 bushels an acre. Talk to your local Syngenta retailer or visit findmorebushels.com to discover your revenue potential today. Always read and follow label instructions. Acuron is a restricted-use pesticide.
In a stunning announcement on Thursday, Bucs assistant coach Terry Stotts informed the team of his desire to resign from his position. The Bucs are back in preseason action tonight, the final preseason game of the season, as they will play host to the Memphis Grizzlies. Chris Middleton is expected to suit up for his debut of the preseason. Tip-off is set for 7 p.m. Over to baseball, where Texas won the first 2 games on the road in their ALCS series, and then Houston returning the favor, winning their last 2 games on the road, including last night's 10-3 Game 4 win. That series now sitting at 2 games apiece. And the Diamondbacks score a run in the bottom of the ninth to win Game 3 by a final of 2-1. Philly still leading that series 2 games to 1. Game 4 is scheduled for tonight. Over to the NFL, where the Jacksonville Jaguars kicked off Week 7 with a 31-24 win against New Orleans. And lastly, the Michigan football program is now under a second NCAA investigation, this time for allegedly violating rules related to sign stealing. I'm Brandon Snide, WTMJ Sports.
Take a look at your roads with your Johnson & Sons paving time-saver traffic. The only delays right now, just some minor ones. I-43 northbound from downtown to Brown Deer Road. Some ramp closures in that area due to construction, some road work. Normally about an 11-minute drive. It's going to take you about 13 minutes this afternoon.
Traffic is sponsored by Weisgerber's Golden Mast Inn, your place on the lake. Visit goldenmastin.com.
Looking for a perfect wedding venue? Open air terrace nestled over Okachi Lake. Weisberger's Golden Mast. Have it all at the lake. Your wedding place on the lake. Visit goldenmastin.com.
A WTMJ 5-day forecast. A chance of showers overnight with a low 45. That chance of showers lingers into tomorrow morning, then maybe some sprinkles in the afternoon. Tomorrow's high 58. 53 on Sunday under sunny skies. Partly sunny Monday. Chance for afternoon rain, a high 58. Tuesday, a chance for rain, mostly cloudy, 68. Madison 52. Green Bay 55. Milwaukee 57 degrees. I'm Connie Weber. Sighting Unlimited, WTMJ News Time, 12:09.
Live from the Annex Wealth Management Studios at the Avenue, it's the Jeff Wagner Show. Come join the conversation on the Old National Bank talk and text line at 855-616-1620. Old National Bank. Get old. Now, here's WTMJ's Jeff Wagner.
Good afternoon, Wisconsin. Welcome to the show. So glad to have you with us. I have figured out how, if for some reason your desire is to get, 15 or 20,000 views on Twitter or whatever they call Twitter now, X, I've got advice as to how to do it. All you have to do is put up a post saying that you're leaving your job, and then people respond. It's been an interesting 24 hours since we announced the fact that I'm going to be retiring at the end of the year, and we're not going to dwell on this over the course of the next 2 months. There's lots of stuff. But I did have just a couple observations, and we will take some walks down memory lane, I think, over the course of the next 2 months. But I have been, doing the announcement and stuff wasn't hard because, as I said yesterday, I had come to the conclusion that it's just time to move on. And so, presenting this and the reasons and my thoughts and the thank yous, that was kind of easy. What has not been easy for me over the last 24 hours has been the absolutely incredible response that I have received, whether it's blowing up the text line or emails or on Twitter or, people making phone calls or texting me, or, sending me messages on my personal phone and stuff. I've been absolutely overwhelmed, and I don't know how else to say it. And I've heard from so many listeners over the years and friends and former colleagues, people we've worked with, and former bosses. I've been hearing from former bosses from all over the country, and it's really been, I don't even know how to respond as to how gracious people have been. And I just wanted to take a minute and just say how much I very much appreciate it. And I do sincerely mean what I said yesterday. It's a great job, but it's a job. And for everybody who says, hey, we're going to really miss you listening on a daily basis, trust me, I will miss you more than you will miss me. I guarantee it. It's been absolutely a wonderful ride. I've also been just surprised, maybe shocked from some of the input I've gotten, including competitors. I travel around the country a lot, and I listen to talk radio in different markets. I will say that I believe the Milwaukee talk radio market is as vibrant as any market in the country. And I will stack up what we do in southeastern Wisconsin with the talented people that are here and the content. I will stack it up with anywhere in the country. And trust me, I listen to talk radio from all around this country. And I have always believed that, talented hosts, and it doesn't matter whether you work for us or WISN or whatever, I have always believed that a rising tide lifts all boats. I've always believed that if you've got, a good talk show host, and that helps attract people to spoken word radio, it's good for all of us. Because maybe you tune in and you hear my show and you like what I'm doing. You say, hey, I never really thought about talk radio before. Well, that's good. So you like Wagner, maybe you try somebody else out as well. So I've appreciated that vibrancy that's there. And I've viewed all the people in this market is yes, I guess you're competitors in the one sense, but at the same time, I always feel that we're kind of brothers and sisters in sound. And just specifically up to dial, Jay Weber, who does the morning show on WISN, who I worked with when I was part-time at WISN 28 years ago, and Dan O'Donnell, who does a morning show, midday show, who started at WTMJ and actually started as a part-time producer of all things when I was doing the Saturday show. They've both been very, very generous in their remarks and stuff, and it's really been touching. And it's just it reflects, I guess, the community that is out there. It reflects the fact that I think we all appreciate and we all love what we do with spoken word radio, and I just very much appreciate it. So I appreciate when your competitors are saying nice things about you. And all the feelings have just been incredible. And today's actually a little bit harder than yesterday because I've just been overwhelmed by the response, and I appreciate it very much. So that's my way of starting off to say thank you. Okay, now let's get right to the business of the program. I admit it appears that I have failed. There are certain things that over the course of the last 25 years have never made any sense to me, and I have argued about them. And I keep thinking that someday the light bulb is going to go on and people are going to say, yes, it's time for us to get off our collective duffs and do something about it. I'll give you an example. The minimum markup law. This is the Depression-era law that says that you have to mark up gas and other things. Never made any sense to me. Doesn't make any economic sense. It's bad business. It's bad for consumers. It's bad for the state. But yet, you've got some powerful lobbying interests who have blocked efforts to change that. Here is something else that has never made any sense to me. And the Badger Institute has a very, very interesting piece that they have posted. It's written by Ken Wysocki. It has to do with something that has never made any sense to me either. The fact that we are stuck in this never-ending battle of mandated emissions testing every 2 years. Now, let me walk into this. Beginning in 1984, the federal government put down mandates that were embraced by the state of Wisconsin that says because of air quality in the 7-county region in southeastern Wisconsin, people have to have their emissions checked. Now, you can remember in the beginning, This was done by the State Department of Transportation. And you can remember, we used to have emissions testing stations all over the area. The one that I always used to go to was down by where Potawatomi was. Now it's a brewery. But you'd have to go, and in order to renew your license plate and your tags, you had to go get this emission test. Now the Department of Transportation is kind of out of that business. They use private businesses to do it. The problem is a lot of private businesses don't want to do it because the remuneration rate is stupid low. I think last time I checked it was $2 or something for every car. And so if you try to find places that do it, they essentially do it kind of as a loss leader because they don't make money. They don't make any money at all by doing the emissions thing, but they hope if you come in and use their place to get the emissions tested, what might happen is you might come back when you need an oil change or something like that. But we have this requirement and this inconvenience that here, okay, I can't just send my money, and it's only for the 7 counties, but it affects about 600,000 people. Now, when this happened when our car, it was actually my wife's car, when it came up for the last time for emissions testing, and it's a 2020. And I remember I went in and I was talking to the guy, and of course it passed. And I said, I'm just curious, how many cars fail this? And he said, almost none. And I said, well, how many cars would you say made in the last 10 or 15? I said, first of all, in the last 10 years, how many cars fail? He said, almost none. He said, matter of fact, to the extent you get any car that fails, it is almost always going to be a car that's 15 years or older. But yet we all have to bring these in. According to the Badger Institute, from the beginning of this program in April of 1994 through the last fiscal year, this program has cost taxpayers $271 million. $271 million. The Badger Institute reports that this program has been audited just once in 40 years, and that was back in 2002. So we've just been doing this over and over again, year after year after year, without having any sort of empirical data suggesting whether or not this program, which is an inconvenience to everybody, whether or not it makes any difference at all in improving air quality. Okay, so here's the deal. According to 2021, listen to these numbers. If you look at the Vehicle Inspection Program report, just of all the vehicles tested, about 630,000, only 3.1% failed. Only 3.1% failed. So that was less than 20,000. On top of that, if you look at the failure rate, the number of cars made in the last 10 years that failed is less than 1%. Matter of fact, before you get any statistically significant number of failures, and even then it's going to be really, really small, it's got to be a car that was made over 15 years ago. So any of the late model cars, they do not fail. There's just not that problem with it. Moreover, there's no empirical evidence at all that it is improving air quality at all. No studies at all suggest that this inconvenience and the cost and going and trying to track this down makes any difference at all. Like I say, vehicles older than 15 years emit most of the bad emissions that are out there. And vehicles older than 10 years make up the rest, even though this is a very, very tiny percentage of them. Which brings us to the question. Now, I understand that in order to get out from under this, Tony Evers would have to go to Washington and ask for a waiver. And that's in all likelihood not going to happen, because even if it does absolutely nothing to make the environment better, Tony Evers is never, ever going to say anything or do anything that's going to create an issue with the environmental lobby. But to me, this is the ultimate in virtue signaling. The fact that if you live in the 7-county area, every 2 years, if you've got a car that was made, really, if you've got a car that's later than 2010, to make you go and get the emissions test is pretty much a complete waste of effort and spirit, because yes, maybe there might be that occasional unicorn that ends up, failing the test. But that one or two unicorns is not going to be enough to significantly affect air quality. Meanwhile, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of people whose car will always pass this test continue to have to show up, go through the inconvenience, and we accomplish absolutely nothing. 855-616-1620. That is the Old National talk and text line. I'm sorry, but this is just absolutely crazy. And whenever I talk about this, people say, oh, it's not that big a deal. Well, okay, first of all, it's a pain in the butt to have to go and figure out, okay, where can I go? What's going to do this? How long is the line going to be? All right, that's number one. But number two, it costs the taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin money. And number three, and this is perhaps the most important thing, it accomplishes nothing. If there was any statistical evidence suggesting that, hey, if you live in Milwaukee or you live in Ozaukee County or you live in Washington County, the fact that, you're driving a 2018 car, if there's any statistical evidence showing that going and having one of these emission tests makes air quality significantly better, I'd be willing to have this conversation. But there's no evidence at all that suggests this. This is complete and total virtue signaling, and it's way past time to end this. 855-616-1620. We discuss.
Don't go anywhere. Jeff Wagner is back right after this. Start planning for your retirement today so you enjoy retirement tomorrow. Saturday mornings at 11 and Sunday mornings at 7, where Tony Drake and his Education First team discuss retirement trends, taxes, inflation, and Social Security benefits to help you achieve a more secure financial future.
Join us this week as we discuss pending tax legislation and how this might affect your retirement.
Retirement Ready with Tony Drake on WTMJ.
Now, about your house. Eric Brown is the president of Siding Unlimited, your contractor for new windows, roofing, siding, decks, and a whole lot more. He knows about your house. So what do you know, Eric?
Are you looking to give your home a new look? Siding Unlimited can help with the big stuff, but there are some little things that you can do to accessorize your home until you're ready for the major improvement. Let's start with the simple. Just hanging a plant, or easier yet, setting plants in front of your home can add color and life to your home. Plants with vibrant colors and healthy growth show your home is alive and well. Replacing light fixtures will definitely give a nice change of pace and help with the night accent lighting. There are other accessories that will help give an updated look to your home, such as custom address plates or even garage door hardware that can be a simple addition that draws the eye and gives you more curb appeal. The little adjustments are nice, but you might be ready for a major improvement. There are newer styles and colors in siding products, window and doors, as well as roofing products that can make your home pop and neighbors impressed. Siding options include different looks with shake siding such as hand split, stagger edge, straight edge, perfection shingles, and natural colors that really stand out. Sometimes new windows and doors can give such an elegant look because the glass alone is so crisp and clean. Whether you try the little things or call Siding Unlimited for the bigger projects, there are different ways to give your house a new look. Sometimes it's just time for the major improvement.
Eric and his crews at Siding Unlimited are your go-to contractor here for replacement windows, roofing, decks, and, of course, siding. They are the best, as acknowledged by the many rewards their suppliers have conferred upon them. Now, take the next step. Check them out at sidingunlimited.com. Siding Unlimited. Siding and a whole lot more.
Back for more. Here's WTMJ's Jeff Wagner.
And as a number of our texters are pointing out, the emissions testing only applies to cars made after 1996. So if you've got some old clunker before 1996, where statistically it is most likely to be one of the cars that is polluting, that doesn't get tested at all. If you wanted to have the emission testing program and you wanted it to make sense, you could at least make an argument if you said, okay, we're only going to apply this to cars that are 15 years old or older, because the number of cars under the 15 years that fail, it is statistically insignificant. And my point is, it makes no sense at all to take 500,000 Wisconsinites every year and who have cars that are going to, at least, again, the chances of your car that was made in 2015 or sooner failing one of these tests is slim to none. And again, if you catch, 1 out of 300,000, for example, is that worth the effort that everybody else has to go through and the expense? If you wanted to make an argument and say, okay, look, if you've got a car that's 15 years or older, you've got to go get it emission tested. Okay, we could have that conversation. But I continue to believe it makes absolutely no sense at all for somebody who drives a 2018 Toyota RAV4 for you to have to go and get it emission tested. It's not going to fail, or at least that's what the numbers show. 855-616-1620. Let's start with Dick in Grafton. Dick, you're on WTMJ.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi, Dick.
We've moved to Shawano, but for 17 years we lived in Grafton, and we had to have all of our vehicles emission tested. I discovered that if the check engine light is on, you shouldn't even waste your time going to get your test because they won't even check it. So the mechanic looked the car over and he says, it looks like it's a O2 sensor in the exhaust. I said, okay, fix it. He said, you want to spend $800? No, I don't want to spend $800 to fix the O2 sensor. But how can I get the emission test? And he said, go to the auto supply store and buy something called Guaranteed to Pass.
Okay.
Have about a half a tank of fuel, put the Guaranteed to Pass in, then come and see me and I'll reset your check engine light. And he said, go through 5 or 6 heat cycles of the car, bring it up to temperature and let it cool down, and then quickly go and get your emission test. I did that, and I'm not making this up, Jeff. I did that on our Suburban for 12 years. That's 6 inspections.
Wow.
And it worked every time. So what we don't know, and I'm not trying to defend this program at all because I think it's crazy, but what we don't know is the cars that ultimately people went and had fixed and their emissions dropped, or how big of an effect this is having on the sales of Guaranteed to Pass.
Yeah, because I got to tell you, Dick, I've never even heard of this. So I mean, no, thanks for coming. Look, I don't know how many, but I guess that to me that's another argument for if it's that easy to circumvent this, it's another reason why this particular program makes no sense. Look, I understand it's this feel good thing, but don't you have to constantly and analyze stuff to determine if stuff works? Okay, you come up with this idea in 1984 saying, okay, we think that there's a problem with air in southeastern Wisconsin, so we think this is the solution. We got to check emissions. Okay, so this is going to be our thing. Okay, wouldn't it make sense to say we're going to test these theories to see if this works? Well, this program hasn't been audited since 2002. It hasn't been audited since 2002, so we have no way of knowing whether this makes things better, worse, or makes no difference at all. But you do look at the raw numbers out there, and again, maybe there's some people, on the fringes that are trying to figure out how to beat the system. But the general rule is, and you just can't argue with statistics, if the car is newer than 15 years, there's almost no chance that it is going to fail. If it's newer than 10 years, there's really no chance statistically that it is going to fail. So does it make any sense at all to spend all the money that we spend on this and inconvenience all these people who have cars, let's just even say that are newer than 10 years? You got to go and you've got to get this test. What is the purpose of this if you're only going to, let's say you catch 5 out of 400 or 500,000, and yet we all have to go through this. And it's becoming more and more difficult to find places to do it because, again, the reimbursement rate is so low. You need to find these garages that are, willing to do this, and fewer of them want to do it because it's not worth their time. Scott in New Berlin. Scott, you're on WTMJ. Hello.
Yeah, hey, Jeff. You worked at a dealer for a short period of time. At the time, the state was paying the dealerships or whoever did it $2 per car to do that test.
Right.
But here's something even more stupid. We bought a 2013 car last May that had less than 49,000 miles on it, real clean car. we bought it from a used car dealership. So they can't sell that car if it had problems and wouldn't pass and all that kind of stuff. So we bought the car. A few weeks later, we get a letter from the state, you got to take it in for emission tests. I called them up, it's like, why? Well, how do we know the car's any good? I said, I bought it at a used car dealer. It's not like I bought it private property. I can maybe understand the rule then.
Right.
So I, sure enough, had to go get it tested. Now it's going to need to get tested again next year because they do odd cars on even years. So we're going to have to get that car. That car will have been tested 3 times in 12 months, and it's going to pass every time.
Absolutely.
And it's like the state. I told the state why. I mean, I took it. I bought it at a used car dealer. They couldn't sell me the car if it wouldn't pass. So why do I have to get it tested like a week later?
Right.
Well, they had no answer. Well, if it changes ownership, you have to test it. It's like,
right.
Yeah.
Right. Here's the history. No, thanks for see. And again, this is it's the frustration. Now, a couple of people are texting in and they're saying, "Well, this is a deterrence." Well, no, it doesn't deter anything. Because the new cars, are all going to pass. It's not like you have a situation where all of a sudden, no Ford is going to pass, indicating, that there's some sort of defect that's there. There's no deterrence about this at all. This is just one of these feel-good examples of virtue signaling. Now, if you think that this is important to do, and somebody was saying, well, you need to do this to get people from not driving clunkers on the road. Well, okay, then you say if the car is more than 10 years old, you got to have it emissions tested. If the car is more than 15 years old, pick whatever that time is, then I think you could at least statistically say, well, still 95% of the cars that are 15 years old or older are going to pass. But you could at least make the argument then that we're going to get 5 out of 100 cars off the street. There's no way at all, using statistics, you can ever justify making everybody who owns cars, especially cars made, within the last 10 or 15 years, there's no way you can justify the expense and putting people through this. It is nothing but virtue signaling. And if you are going to do that, I think at the very least the federal government should be doing some documentation. Let's have some updates on this. All right, if my analysis and the analysis like the Badger Institute does, if this is wrong, and there are a substantial number of cars that are, again, made in the last 10 years that are failing, all right, let's see those numbers. But everybody knows it's not out there. But again, it's just easier to keep inconveniencing people, and because in many respects, we're all sheep. Well, the federal government says that Tony Evers loves the environment. We all love the environment. But, my only point is, don't you have to at least kind of look at stuff and say, does the program make sense or not? And I've been arguing for years, and this story today from the Badger Institute just reinforces it, that this program has never made any sense at all. And to the extent it made sense, or there might have been a chance of it making sense 40 years ago, the data that we have over the last 40 years doesn't justify it. But yet we continue to do this because it makes us feel good. Give me a break. Back with more in just a minute. This is Jeff Wagner.
More Jeff Wagner right after this. Your weekly Bucks breakdown is back.
They want to win equally as bad as I do.
Bucks Weekly on WTMJ.
Now he joins a team where you have, as he has put it, the best player in the league.
And a new year brings new faces.
You'll see that I've gotten better year after year after year after year.
Get the latest news, analysis, and insight on your Milwaukee Bucks all season long. Bucks Weekly with Justin Garcia every Monday night at 8 on WTMJ. And catch the podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, this is WTMJ Jeff Wagner for the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin's Health Network. Lifelong mobility is dependent upon healthy joints. We talked to Dr. Michael Decker, an orthopedic surgeon with the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin's Health Network. Let's try that again. We talked with Dr. Michael Decker, an orthopedic surgeon with the Freighter and the Medical College of Wisconsin Health Network. We learned how timely treatment of joint problems can help keep you moving, why these conditions are so common. We learned about non-surgical options and much more. Listen to that conversation and all our previous everyday health discussions simply by visiting the features drop-down menu at WTMJ.com.
Hey, it's 620 WTMJ's Brian D. You know what time of year it is. Snacks around Halloween. Lots of family photos through the holidays. Make sure those pearly whites are looking pearly and white. Go see my guy, Dr. James Michaels at Oconomowoc Dental Care. Whether it's a simple cleaning and exam, a more complex dental procedure, a teeth whitening, or an implant, the team at Oconomowoc Dental Care and Dr. Michaels are going to take great care of you, just like they've taken great care of me. Centrally located between Milwaukee and Madison, the team at Oconomowoc Dental Care is always going to make you as comfortable as possible while you're in the chair and give both you and your family an amazing smile. At Oconomowoc Dental Care, affordable quality dentistry is no longer a dream, it's the reality. Dr. Michael's fantastic and friendly staff can help you out with a no-interest payment plan. We all have to go to the dentist, so don't wait any longer. Go see my guy, Dr. James Michaels at Oconomowoc Dental Care. Call his friendly and caring staff today and make an appointment with my guy, Dr. Michaels.
This is Matt Meitner, owner of Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Do you find yourself talking to your dog but feel like she's not listening to you?
Bella, sit!
Are you constantly repeating yourself but she's not following your directions?
Sit! Sit!
Frustrating, isn't it? At Sit Means Sit Dog Training, we want to help you have a happy, confident, and obedient dog, and we also want to make the training process an enjoyable and worthwhile experience. Contact Sit Means Sit today to schedule a free consultation so we can create a customized training program so you are able to have the dog you want and deserve.
Sit Means Sit Dog Training. Sorry, we don't train husbands, wives, or kids.
You're listening to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
A number of our listeners are also pointing out that if you drive collector's cars, those don't have to go through the emission testing thing. Again, my point is, I've always believed that things need to make sense. The idea of just doing something because we've always done it, or because we thought it might be a good idea, or we wanted to try it out 40 years ago. And so here we have no evidence to suggest whether it was a good idea anymore, or it's relevant anymore, but we're just going to keep doing it because we've always done it because it makes us feel good. That's what this emission testing thing is. It makes us feel good. A number of people are correctly pointing out, all right, what is the impact that this emission testing, where, again, the overwhelming majority of cars are passing. That's a good thing. But, again, the chances are if you have a car that's less than 15 years old, you're not going to fail in any sort of statistically significant number at all. How is that really making air quality better? And what about, I don't know, what about the junker cars that are on the road in Madison, for example? Why aren't those being emission tested? I mean, shouldn't we care about the quality of air in Madison? Not that I'm advocating this, but shouldn't we care about the quality of air in Eau Claire? Shouldn't we care about the quality of air in La Crosse? I'm just asking these different types of things. And again, we don't have answers to this. Well, the EPA said it was a good idea 40 years ago, and of course nobody wants to challenge that. Just give me a break. All right, let us switch gears. When I first started doing this show and doing talk radio a long time ago, it was before we really had the internet. And the way that I would prepare for shows, let's say I was doing an afternoon show, I would run out and I would buy newspapers. And I try to find, you'd have the local newspaper, Journal Sentinel, and I'd find the Wall Street Journal, and I'd find the New York Times, and there was a newspaper box right by where I lived in Whitefish Bay that had the New York Post, and you'd find a bunch of newspapers, many as I could find, and then you'd scour through them, looking for stories and different ideas. Now the problem with that is if you found stories, you were really kind of limited as to how you could research them, but that's how you did it. You got the hard copies of the newspaper, and you tried to put together, how am I going to do this 3-hour show? Then along came the internet, and the entire world of information opened up. And you weren't limited to, can I find a couple newspapers that are out there, or can I do my own enterprise reporting? What you were doing is, hey, I've got this entire world that's out there. And so, for example, what I do now, and I know that there's some people who think, there's no prep time. You just come in, open the microphone, talk for 3 hours. Well, maybe that's how some people do it, but I'm not good enough to do that. I mean, I spend hours, and I have a number of different sources that I go to look for stories, and in many cases, it'll be like different perspectives on the same story. But some of the websites I go to are different newspaper websites from all across the country. Some are television websites. I've got like independent websites that I'll go to, and you put this all together and you put together the show. But I mean, 30 years ago, 28 years ago, newspapers were a vital place of where I got information. Now, not so much so. Although, I mean, I do go to newspaper websites and look at things and get ideas, but not so much so. As far as hard copies of newspapers, well, the world has completely changed because people do not get hard copies of newspapers that much anymore. And I am willing to bet, and I think the studies support this, if you're under the age of 50, unless you're sitting in the quickie oil change place, waiting for your car to get done, you're not reading the hard copies of newspapers. Hard copies of newspapers, it's very expensive. It costs, of course, you got to pay the people that are writing for them. You got to pay the people to the extent you still have any editors. And then you have to, send this off and it has to get printed up. And then you've got the cost of delivering it. And the problem is with time frames, the window is so narrow that, for example, and I don't mean to pick on the Journal Sentinel because they were very kind to me in a story they wrote and put it online about, my leaving WTMJ. But the reality is the windows are so short that if it's an evening baseball game, you're not going to get any of the scores. You're not going to get the score of the Tuesday night game till you see an article in Thursday's paper. Well, by that time, it is the ultimate in old news. It's just the way these windows kind of work. And as a result of that, newspaper readership has become, first of all, because of the competition, but also just because of the timing involved, it's become less and less relevant because the news, by the time it gets put into the paper and gets delivered in your mailbox, it's old news. And we live in a 24/7 news environment where, if you want to know, hey, what's the latest going on in Washington? What's the latest with is Jim Jordan going to be the next Speaker of the House? Well, you can go on the internet and you can have your answer in 10 or 15 seconds, which is why newspaper readership is declining. There's a piece in Urban Milwaukee that kind of breaks down from the perspective of the local newspaper. And again, I don't mean to pick on the Journal Sentinel because what's going on with them is no different than what's going on with most newspapers across the country. But the piece by Bruce Murphy in Urban Milwaukee talks about the numbers. Let me just say this. Okay, the circulation numbers show that the average daily circulation of the Journal Sentinel in 2019 was 92,800. Which included 7,762 electronic or digital copies, which I find staggering. That means that there's only like 7,000 people who are paying online to get their information. Now, that's what I do. I have a subscription, but it's an online subscription. I don't get the daily paper delivered. This represented a nearly 50% drop from daily readership the paper claimed just over 8 years ago. Each year, these numbers have steadily dropped. 2020, the number was down to 79,000. In 2021, it was 68,800. In 2022, it was 58,700. And in 2023, it was 47,567. That 47,000, that's the daily circulation. And of course, that's down dramatically from where it was just a couple years ago. The number of people who subscribe digitally, like I do, 5,152 to be precise, 5,000 people. And that's it. And that's supposedly where the future of the newspaper is going to be. And again, I don't mean to pick on the local newspaper because what's going on at the Journal Sentinel is no different than what's going on at newspapers across the country. But you look at this and it just seems to me it's flat out not sustainable. How do you pay people to work at a place when the number of people who are paying for your product is declining at these kind of rates? And for what newspapers are trying to do, they're trying to push people over into digital. I mean, they want more people to do what I do because they're at least getting some revenue in, but at the same time, they don't have the cost. You don't have to print a paper that you bring to me. But I just look at these numbers, and I guess 5,100 digital subscribers, a daily circulation down to less than 48,000. And of course, that's dropped like a rock over the last couple of years. Is this sustainable? Our number is 855-616-1620. That is the Old National Bank talk and text line. Look, I don't wish the demise of newspapers. I don't. And I still get the Wall Street Journal delivered to my house every day, and I get the New York Times on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday when I have some time to maybe sit down and read it in depth. But as a general rule, I'm not in the target demographic. And again, for people who are under the age of 50, now maybe under the age of 60, they're not buying newspapers, and they're not willing to pay for the digital content. So what is the future of newspapers? 855-616-1620. 5 years from now, is there still going to be daily delivery of newspapers outside of maybe a couple of the big national papers, outside of the Wall Street Journal, outside of USA Today, outside of maybe the New York Times? But beyond that, for these local newspapers, how are they going to survive? Candidly, I just don't see it. 855-616-1620. We discuss.
Stick around. Jeff Wagner is right around the corner.
It's spooky season, and we have monster deals at Heiser. Is your vehicle giving you a scare? Making noises like a monster's living under the hood? Or it's barely being held together like a 5,000-year-old mummy? Don't scream. Heiser has you covered. We have 5 certified service centers and 2 body shops. We're taking new clients, and we serve all makes and models, monsters included. So make sure you get treated with all that Heiser has to offer. Because at Heiser, today's your day.
See dealer for complete details.
Radon, the leading cause of lung cancer in non-smokers. Hey, it's WTMJ's Greg Matzik. The EPA equates high radon levels to smoking 8 cigarettes every day. Why risk it? When I learned about the dangerous radon levels in our home, Lifetime Radon Solutions helped protect me and my family. Lifetime Radon was in and out of our home in less than a day with a quick, clean radon mitigation install by experienced and professional technicians who guarantee results. Protect your family like I did and call Jen or Taylor at Lifetime Radon today. LifetimeRadon.com.
Old National Bank.
I just got your home equity loan, and this feeling of joy and exhilaration overcame me.
Yeah, it's a phenomenon we call getting old.
Wow, so I'm not the only one?
No, small business owners feel it with expansion loans. Families feel it when they're setting up trusts and 529s. Nonprofits who need financing to help the community. And anyone who needs investment advice, they all feel it.
So it's not just me?
No, you're in a pretty big club.
Like a club I can join?
I really don't.
Is there at least a secret handshake?
Old National Bank, where relationships and results matter. Old National. Get old. Member FDIC.
Hey, WTMJ's John Burke here. I'm looking for the creepiest tub or shower. My guys at Sidex want to replace your tub or shower. The winner gets a brand new complete tub or shower conversion installed at no cost by Sidex. Up to a $10,000 value. They're doing the conversion in my house. Go to WTMJ.com/contest. Everyone's eligible if you live within 50 miles of Milwaukee. Creepiest tub or shower. You get a brand new one. Send us a picture of your creepiest tub or shower. I'll announce the winner live on Wisconsin's Afternoon News on Halloween.
Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
A breaking news story. There are reports that 2 American hostages taken by Hamas have been released. We'll do a follow-up on that. Jeff, I turn 42 next week, and we still get the newspapers Wednesdays and Sundays. I like reading the paper copy of the newspaper. I don't, however, know anyone else around my age who gets a physical paper, so I recognize that this is not going to go on forever. Jeff, I'll be 72 next month, and I get the Racine Journal delivered every day. I'll be very sad if that ever ends. Well, like I say, 60 and older, you're used to. I grew up with newspapers. I get it, but that's not the younger generation. One of our listeners says, well, my mom is 91. She still gets it. Well, right. But that's, if you're marketing, here's just the reality. If your business model depends on, hey, I'm going to sell my product to people who are 91, all right, that's not, let me put it like this. That's not a growth area, I guess. Let's talk to, Roger in Fredonia. Roger, you're on WTMJ. Hello.
Hello. Thank you for taking my call.
Sure.
Here's my attitude. I'm not going to pay $2.50 an issue for a copy of the newspaper. It's just too much. And when you look at what you're getting, as time goes on, less and less actual news in the paper. Mm-hmm. I easily and gladly get all my news by going online on my smartphone to the TV stations and the radio stations. They have a presence online. I get all my news that way for free.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's the problem the newspapers have, and especially it's a vicious cycle because, okay, you're making less money, so you end up cutting things. So we're not going to have as many reporters. We're not going to do local stories. We're not going to have courtroom reporters. We're not going to do any of that stuff. So there's less content. There's less reasons for people like you, Roger, to pay for it. I get it. Kendall in Port Washington. Kendall, you're on WTMJ. Hello.
Hey, Jeff, good afternoon. Good luck on your next life.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
One of the problems that the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel did was they moved their press operations to Central Illinois.
Yep.
So that made the deadline for the reporters something ridiculous like 4 in the afternoon.
Yep.
You never get any news, accent on new, in their paper. It's just old stuff that the editor even mentioned that, well, now they can look into more in-depth stuff. Well, I would like news, please.
Right. Well, and in sports, I mean, you get no, it used to be, if the ball game, if they're playing in California, you don't get a report on the ball game in the paper. But now there's nothing like that. Everything is a day and a half old, and it is, to your point, it is old news. Now, thanks for the call by the time they get around it. So, why do you want to read a story about a game that occurred 2 days earlier? Now, I understand, well, we've done an interview with the manager, but chances are you've heard that interview with the manager on WTMJ radio, or you've seen it on ESPN or whatever. And this is from somebody who grew up with newspapers. I just don't see how this model works. But these numbers, my God, 5,100 digital subscribers in this metropolitan market, and also including all the people who might want to keep in touch with Milwaukee from all across the world, and you've only got 5,100 digital subscribers. I do not see how this is sustainable. Back with more in just a minute.
More Jeff Wagner right after this.
Hey, this weekend is Sweetest Day weekend. Don't forget your sweetheart. WTMJ's John Mercure here. I highly recommend taking your love to the amazing Mind Chef restaurant in Hartford. It's the most affordable Sweetest Day dining destination. Check this out. The Mind Chef has lowered their prices on their Wednesday and Friday fish fry. The cod is all you can eat, and it's just $9.99. Now the shrimp, perch, and poor man's lobster are $9.99, and all you can eat. Don't pay $16 to $20. At just $9.99, this is the best fish fry value anywhere. Add a delicious old-fashioned, a Manhattan, or a glass of wine for a perfect fish fry. And buy one dessert. Your sweetheart's dessert is free. Today, on Sweetest Day, the prime rib dinner is under $25. That is amazing. The Mine Shaft in beautiful downtown Hartford and in Oshkosh, ample seating, close parking. Fabulous food, big fun. Don't spend a lot of money on Sweetest Day to have a great time. Reserve now. MineshaftRestaurant.com. Just relax. It's the amazing Mineshaft Restaurant.
Hi, John McGivern here. Did you know Network Health Medicare Advantage plans start at $0 a month? And you can get the extra benefits you need, like dental, vision, over-the-counter items, and more? I know because I'm a member myself. Call 833-7-NETWORK to learn more today. Network Health Medicare Advantage plans include PPO plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Network Health Medicare Advantage plans depends on contract renewal.
A decision we made that nobody believed in was the name change from PM Bedroom Gallery to Penny Mustard.
Ben and Arvid from Penny Mustard Furnishings.
Well, we knew the name fit right away. Yeah. But I remember after we announced that, the Journal-Sentinel in Milwaukee ran an article. And I remember counting, there was 145 comments. 143 were negative and some extremely negative. The other one might have been our mom.
PennyMustard.com.
So I guess the moral of the story is, if you know something's right and everybody else says it's not the thing to do, go with your gut. Yep.
If you like using debit over credit, don't you think it's time you also get rewarded with Discover Cashback Debit? Check out eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashbackdebit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
Get started with your no-hassle refi checkup by clicking on the blue button at Accunet.com.
If you need a place for new home interior ideas, then you have to come talk to us. Our on-staff decorators know furniture, home decor, and a lot more. And they're not only creative, but also very willing to help you make great choices. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating taste come to find premium home decor at a value. Design Exchange in Heartland and Pewaukee. Stop in often, because our inventory changes daily.
Design Exchange.
Previously, it has been gently loved, but here you'll only find very well-conditioned premium home decor items that you likely won't find elsewhere. Distinctive furniture, unique antiques, and original art, and other tasteful home decor at a value. This is Katie with Design Exchange, where discerning buyers with discriminating taste come to find premium home decor on consignment at 25 to 40% off retail prices in Heartland and Pewaukee.
Design Exchange.
Welcome back to Jeff Wagner on WTMJ.
You know, a number of people are talking about the leftward turn, for example, the local newspaper, which I think is undeniable. But I think there was a period of years where the local newspaper was not writing to a large portion of the audience, and that turned people off. But candidly, the problems that are affecting the local newspaper are not unlike the problems that are affecting, other newspapers. The fact that, it's just people want the information, but they're reluctant to end up to pay for the content of that. And as a result of that, the question becomes, how do you figure out a way to make money? The other thing is that I've said I do this. I subscribe because of what I do for a living. I have a lot of different newspapers that I read online, and I subscribe. The Chicago Tribune, the L.A. Times, New York Times, and those are ones that you have to pay for. But can't USA Today? But candidly, I'm one of those people that you get these deals where they say, hey, you can have access to the paper for $6 for 6 months. Okay, I sign up for that. Then they say, okay, now we want $20 a month. No, I don't want it, so I cancel it. All right, that's fine. So I paid $6, and inevitably, 60 days later, they come back and say, hey, we've got an offer for you, 6 months for $6. Okay, I'll sign up. That's how I do it. That's how a lot of people do it as well. So this revenue stream, how you make money out of this, I just do not get it. Okay, when we come back after the top of the hour news, I call the topic, Cry Me a River. I will explain. We will discuss.
Stay tuned. Jeff Wagner returns after this on WTMJ.
Vince Vitrano here from Wisconsin's Morning News, reminding you to subscribe to the Wisconsin's Morning News podcast. We update it every day with every segment, every interview, and every bit we do on the show. Wait, we don't do bits on the show.
If my intelligence is artificial, then why am I smarter than you?
Absolutely boat race.
Let's go. Come on, let's go.
All right, maybe we do some bits.
F you.
Subscribe to the Wisconsin's Morning News podcast wherever you get your podcasts or listen live on WTMJ.com.
This is Monica from Kessler's Diamonds. Did you know that Sweetest Day is fast approaching?
And it's celebrated on Saturday, October 21st.
I'm telling you this because I think some of you may have forgotten what Sweetest Day is all about and might need a little reminder.
The first Sweetest Day was celebrated in October during the early 1920s by a group of confectioners who distributed over 20,000 boxes of chocolates to orphans, the elderly, and the poor.
Sweetest Day is celebrated primarily right here in Wisconsin and Michigan.
Sweetest Day is a day for showing affection with gifts, candy, or acts of kindness to those you care about and those who could use a little support.
I'm sure there's someone in everyone's life that could use little affection, kindness, or support.
Stop into Kessler's and pick up some chocolates as our gift of kindness to you.
And while you're here, shop for a gift for someone special in your life and spread the kindness.
Kessler's has plenty of gifts starting at just